If you love $9 Monday and $2 Tuesday, you're really going to appreciate our new Throwback Thursday when all daily packages are slashed in half. Yes, you heard right. At both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, all Thursday daily packages are now 50% off. This means that a 4% package will be only $12.50. A 5% top-rated play, normally priced at $35, will be only $17.50. And the hottest sales item of the day, get a full day of access from the handicappers of your choice. That's one day of every applicable play they release, including any 5% best bets, normally priced at $39, for only $19.50. The best part is you can come back every Thursday to take advantage of this limited time 50% off spring off.
Happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Carmine Bianco. This is Stoppage Time. Champions League is still a week out from returning, but we have got some EPL games, and we have the Coppa Italia semifinal between Juventus and Inter Milan that we're going to discuss. But we're going to do Chelsea, Liverpool, Juventus, Inter Milan, Man United, Brentford, and then we're going to cap it off with West Ham and Newcastle. All four of these games being played today and tomorrow. In Europe, with me to discuss it from WagerTalk.com, it's Brian Power and Kevin Dolan. And from Sports Memo, filling that seat, Pavlos and Bryan. Let's bring the boys in. Guys, a quick round table. Brian, I'll go with you first. March Madness is done. How was your past week?
Well, it wasn't the end of the college hoop season I was looking for. I got too cute after telling everybody and their mother that UConn was going to win the national championship. I tried middling a little bit and taking the points with San Diego State. That was did not work out, and also was kicking myself on the pitch yesterday afternoon. Knew I should have taken both teams to score in Everton, Tottenham. Instead, I got a little greedy, thought there would be a third goal, wanted that plus money. There was not. So disappointing Monday, but overall, it was a great college hoop season. We're looking for a nice finishing out of the soccer season, and excited to talk about these games.
Yeah, that Spurs game got me as well too. I had Spurs at plus money in that one. It just reminded me of the one time where they're talking to Juventus. Giorgio Chiellini says, "This is Tottenham. This is the Spurs, and this is what they do to you." Kev, how was your weekend?
Yeah, all good. Carmine had a really good weekend overall. We went 2.5-0 in the EPL, 2 outright winners and a half winner. So obviously pretty happy with that. Had a big 4% winner in the NBA as well in the San Antonio Spurs on Sunday, plus 16 winning outright. And, you know, it's almost that time of the year, NBA playoffs. If you give me one sporting event to bet on, you know, over the year, it'd be NBA playoffs all the time. Loved them. Went 16-5 last year. Went 3-0 on a 5% max bets as well. So obviously that's on the horizon. So with Champions League, domestic leagues, NBA playoffs all on the horizon, we're coming into the best time of the year, in my opinion.
Awesome. Continue to make some money. And Pavlos, again, first of all, a quick thank you for stepping in on Thursday and filling the seat as I had to be away. I was traveling and Wi-Fi wasn't the greatest. So thank you for coming in. And how was your past week?
I had an amazing week, to be honest, guys. I won back-to-back 5% on Friday and Saturday. Doing really well in the MLS, swept the MLS with 2-0. I was bold enough to fade St. Louis City at plus money, and it was a win. Of course, the Sounders were my 5%, so it's been going amazing. 7-2 overall in the weekend. I'm looking to bring the momentum to this week, where there's a lot of exciting matches. There's CONCACAF Champions League. There's Copa Libertadores. Of course, there's EPL and the Cups, but there's a whole lot of soccer going on, guys. And I do have a 4% loaded for tonight, and of course, more plays are on the way. And I'm super excited to talk some of these matches, guys, because they're really interesting.
Yeah, there are some good ones. And just before we kick it off with Chelsea and Liverpool, guys, I put this deal together for everyone who was on the show. So obviously the four guys on the show today, and for Nick Borman, who will be on Thursdays. He's gearing up and getting ready for the Masters. So you might want to check out Nick's page over at Sports Memo. A ton of Masters action if you love golf, and I know Kevin does. But you can get 6 weeks of soccer for only $199. The $199 is the regular price of a 30-day package. We're going to give you 6 weeks instead of 4. So that's a savings of about $150 on that package. And that's going to cover a lot of the European soccer, of course. as the seasons wind down at the end of May. And of course, Champions League, Europa Conference League, MLS. There's a ton of soccer left. $199 6 weeks, an absolutely great deal. You'll find that deal on the specials of everyone's page and in the deal section at Wager Talk and Sports Memo. With that said, let's get on to the first one. It is Chelsea and Liverpool. We'll have a look at the numbers on this one. Chelsea at home, Stamford Bridge, plus 148. The draw is plus 251. Liverpool, plus 179. A lot of plus prices right across the board on this one. The big news, of course, Chelsea, Graham Potter, finally, after only accumulating, I think, 11 wins in 31 games for Chelsea across all competitions, is let go. It's been a bit of a dumpster fire there. Why they let Thomas Tuchel go, I'll never know. His first game for Bayern Munich, they blew the doors off of Dortmund. But this is a different league, two different teams. Liverpool looked pretty much terrible last week against Man City. Their midfield was shredded in that game, and a game that they lose by, of course, multiple goals. But that's a Man City team that will make a lot of midfields and backlines look that way. You know, when I look at this game, and then I'm going to pass it over to Kev, these teams, to me, I think are equal on quality. I think this game plays out a lower scoring game. I'm leaning to the under here. I like the under 2.5 plus 105. I think it's a Chelsea style of play, even with the managerial change. I don't think Liverpool get a lot out of this game. And I'm gonna throw out a prop bet for you guys. 1-1 draw plus 600. I think this game has a very good shot at finishing 1-1 with the narrative that I think it's going to be a low scoring game. So my lean is under 2.5 in this game at plus money, plus 105. And then I'm going to throw a pizza slice on 1-1 draw plus 600. And I'll throw it over to Kevin for his thoughts on this one.
Well, you know, history definitely appears on your side, Carmine. Taking a glance at the recent results between these two sides, 0-0, 1-0. We had a rare 2-2 back in January last year, I believe. And then it was, you know, usual 1-0, 1-1 and so on between these two. So it definitely looks as if another under could be on the cards. But, you know, I know as sports bettors, you know, we shouldn't necessarily overanalyze what you saw the last time you watched the teams, but, you know, you mentioned it at the start. You know, I just can't get it out of me. You know, my eyeballs were seared by how bad Liverpool were defensively at the weekend against City. I mean, nearly every goal was just Sunday league stuff. You know, Grealish cuts it inside for Alvarez. I mean, there's no one there. Carbon copy pretty much for the second goal, the third goal. You know, Liverpool seemed to have a box full of players, yet every single one of them seemed to be at least 10 yards away from the ball. So as much as the under looks like value to me as well, you know, if I was to bet that, I'd be needing blood pressure medication or something to sit there with an unders ticket and watch this Liverpool defence try to cash that ticket for me. You know, 6th from bottom on defensive XGA this season on the road as well. So it's not even just in that game where they're absolutely terrible. So, you know, I would lean the same way as you, but I have to stay clear of the total in this one entirely for me. And I'm going to look at the side. Look, it's not a play I absolutely love by any means, but I just about rather be with Chelsea in this one than Liverpool. You know, despite the loss of the weekend against Villa, Chelsea had so many opportunities to score in that game. You know, if you had a both teams to score ticket in that one, you know, you would definitely have my condolences. You know, Mudryk had a couple of great chances early, Kante as well. So, you know, 27 goal attempts, 2.28 XG. I mean, that is the ultimate Potter ball without even scoring a goal. And maybe it wasn't Neil, you know, we were throwing shade at Neil Mopay all those years at Brighton. Maybe it wasn't his fault. Maybe Potter's that guy from the Cooler movie. But you'd have to imagine if Chelsea can approach anywhere near those kind of numbers again in this one, they'd have more than enough to breach this kind of papier-mâché defence of Liverpool's, you'd think. So, as I said, won't be on my card. I don't even believe we'll get a new manager bounce from Chelsea in this one. You know, Bruno Salter has been Graham Potter's assistant since back in the Brighton days when he was a player. So I don't think we get the bounce there. But, yeah, as I said, I just worry about Liverpool's defence. And at a straight pick-em price, as bad as Chelsea have been, they'd still be the side I'd lean towards in this one. So Chelsea pick for me.
All right, Kevin Dolan at Wager Talking. Kev, you took my you took my follow-up question to you, which was I was going to first mention, Liverpool averaging exactly a goal per game on the road. Chelsea averaging 1.15 goals per game at home. But I was going to throw it to you on the managerial bounce. We normally see some teams bring in a new manager and the team perform a little bit better. Obviously, it didn't happen with Tottenham. With the assistant manager who took over the managerial role temporarily, and the same thing at Chelsea. So I don't see the managerial bounce here. But the rumors are Nagelsmann coming to Chelsea if they can sort of figure out the contract that he has with Bayern Munich and whether they'll pick up some of that money that is owed to him. But we'll see. I think if Nagelsmann comes to Chelsea, we'll see probably a little better Chelsea, and maybe they make that move before Champions League. Any thoughts on that really quickly?
Well, I would love it because I've got a 25-1 ticket on Chelsea in the Champions League. So, by all means, I'll buy Nagelsmann's ticket to England myself if that's the case. But yeah, he would be a kind of perfect. He's got that German pedigree like Tuchel coming in as well. So, yeah, I'd be all on board for that.
Yeah, we would have to start a GoFundMe if we could bring him over, but to pay that contract, we'd have to put together a really huge GoFundMe account. Guys, let's move on to the second game on the card. It's the only non-EPL game on the card. This is Juventus and Inter Milan. It is leg one of the semifinals of the Coppa Italia. Juventus plus 133 at home. The draw is plus 222. Inter Milan plus 226. I'll say this about Inter Milan: 10 losses in the league. Yes, they are into the next round of the Champions League. They're in the semifinals of this Coppa Italia, but their manager is on the hot seat, Brian. And this is an Inter team that lost both of the games against Juventus this season. Give me your thoughts on this one. 2-0 and 1-0 for Juve in the two games versus Inter Milan this season in league play. Can they do it in leg one here?
Yeah, Carm, you talk about it. Inter is in just terrible form right now. Just one win the last 6 matches overall. They lose 1-0 to Fiorentina over the weekend. They have not even managed to put one in the back of the net in any of the last 3 overall. You hit it, Carm. You look at the top 7 in Serie A right now. They have by far the most losses with the 10. They've got the busy April schedule coming up, not only with this 2-leg semifinal, but the Champions League as well. And then how about the old lady? Juve has one loss since January. It was 1-0 to Roma. Roma's a good side. So, no big deal there. They've won 5 in a row overall, 3-0 in the league, where they're now just 6 points off the top 4, oh, by the way, despite that 15-point penalty. If not for that penalty, they'd be second in the table. So Juventus has got to be feeling pretty good about itself right now. You mentioned pulling the league double against Inter, most recently the 1-0 win at San Siro. But on the bright side for Inter, they have beaten Juventus in the last 2 non-league meetings, including last year's Cup final, 4-2, should be pointed out. But I think this is going to be a much different kind of match than the 4-2 final we saw here. And I'm looking at both teams' to score prop and going with no. I just don't see both teams getting on the score sheet here. Both teams to score no has cashed in 13 of Inter's last 15 matches overall. For Juventus, it's cashed in 11 of 14. Hit 3 straight for both teams. And you got to consider, as you mentioned, Carm, the 2 wins for Juventus in the league, 2-0 and 1-0. I do not see both teams scoring in this afternoon's first leg.
All right. I like it. I like the sound of that. And Pavlos, Bryan made a good point. And this is one that I tell people, don't handicap the standings, handicap the teams, because you'll look at Juventus and you'll see, they're 44 points in 7th place. They are second in the league. They have 59 points. In theory, they have 59 points. And we'll know, I think on the 19th of April, whether those 15 points, if that deduction is rescinded and they get them back, they'll be second to Napoli and firmly in a Champions League spot if that does happen. Only 22 goals allowed, which is the 3rd fewest behind Lazio and Napoli in the league. Playing well defensively. They've stuck Bonucci, which is the Italian Harry Maguire, on the bench, which is great. If he makes it on the field today, I'd be a little worried. But give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, this is a tricky match. If you look at form alone, you just have to take Juventus here. Keep in mind that this is the first leg. There is a second leg in the reverse venue, the San Siro, or Giuseppe Meazza. I think it's the San Siro. It's the same venue but different name. So keep in mind that the away goals rule is not in effect, but there's going to be a second leg. So matches between the two sides are always tricky. We should say that Inter Milan's coach Inzaghi, he's a mastermind in knockout matches, especially the finals. So I initially thought about fading Juventus here, but how can you fade them? They're really, really good in 2023. They've been good all season. Inter Milan, as Brian said, they haven't even scored a single goal in the last three. In fact, they only beat Lecce in the last 6 matches in all competitions. They have 4 losses and 1 draw. They failed to score in 4 of those 6 matches. And there's a very nice prop that I look, because there's a lot of stuff surrounding Inter Milan. Of course, the manager is in the hot seat. Lukaku kind of looks like Timo Werner lately. I don't know if you saw that miss over the weekend. He was alone with a goal, and he sent it to the other side. Çalhanoğlu is missing, who is one of their best and most creative midfielders. So that's gonna hurt even further their goal scoring chances. With the line set at 2, I had some thoughts for the over, but I'm gonna take a classic maneuver, guys. There's a prop that you can find everywhere: DraftKings, FanDuel, Barstool Sports, wherever you name it. I'm gonna take Juventus to win by exactly 1 goal at plus 230. Now, 8 of the last 11 wins for Juventus came by exactly 1 goal, and this team, they rarely destroy their opponents. They just want to get the job done. They play solid defense, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get a clean sheet. Now, Inter Milan, 4 of the last 5 losses came by exactly 1 goal, and 7 of their 10 domestic losses all season came by exactly 1 goal. And the 3 losses that didn't come by 1 goal came by 2 goals. And in all 3 matches, they conceded late goals. So I think this is going to be a very tight match between the two sides. I don't like the spread. I don't like the total. However, I found a way for a big plus money, and that's Juventus to win by exactly 1 goal at plus 230. So this covers the 1-0 and 2-1 correct scores for Juventus, which are actually playable by themselves at plus 550 and plus 950 respectively. So here's where I'm going with this.
All right, I like that. And I know Kevin's used that one as well too. Anytime you get plus money on one of these ones where you figure it's going to be a tight game, you have a lean on the side, but you just don't know what that final score will be. That's not a bad way to take that plus money, Pavlos. So great find for you on that one. All right, guys, we're going to move over to the next game, third game on today's card, and it is another EPL game, Man United and Brentford. The odds on this one, United, opening line of minus 157, the draw plus 320, Brentford plus 402. That Brentford game on the weekend against Brighton was quite the game, 3-3 final in that one. If you had the over in that game, I believe Kevin and I both did. It was a no sweat bet. It was done after 20 minutes. It's a shame they couldn't all be that way, but they never are. I look at this, and United were obviously affected in that last game, the 2-0 loss to Newcastle, by the fact that it was the first game after the international break, and yet all teams were in that position. But United had so many of their players across Europe playing for their national teams, much more than Newcastle did in that game. And I think it affected them. They didn't look sharp in the first half. They definitely didn't look sharp in the second half. But a week in now, under their boots and back on the pitch, I have to believe they're going to be a lot better. And while this Brentford team's having a fantastic season, sitting 7 points out of a top 4 spot, I think this is where we start to see the United we were familiar with about a month ago, a team that is playing well, attacking well, scoring well. This number is going to go up. I've seen it creep up a bit to minus 165 in some places. I wouldn't doubt it getting a little bit higher than that. I'm going to take United in this game. And I think another option, because I believe Brentford will score, is you can take both teams to score, yes, and over 2.5 goals at plus 120. That's another option you can take as well. But my lean for the show is Man United and I'll throw it over to Kev.
Well, you're a braver man than me, Carmine. You're a braver man than me because I can't touch this Man United team right now in their current form, especially with no Casemiro in the lineup as well. They seem to be a different team without him in that midfield area. They haven't scored in the league since February 19th. I mean, that's just a crazy stat. That's months ago. It's almost like they gave up scoring for Lent. Maybe Ten Hag's a devout Catholic, who knows? But I find it kind of interesting because, if we go back and revisit that, they look good in the 3-0 win against Leicester back in that February 19th game, which were the last goals we seen in the league from Manchester United. They followed that up with a good 2-1 win to knock Barcelona out of the Europa League, still playing well, obviously. And then they won the League Cup against Newcastle, which they won very convincingly. But for whatever reason, that trophy just seems to have completely, dampened them, eliminated. They just don't look like the same team since left and silverware. It's almost like Ten Hag is like, okay, my job's done. We've got a trophy. Let's pack it up for next season. They got smashed to bits by Liverpool just the week after that. That's the biggest rivalry in English football. And United basically rolled over and let Liverpool tickle their bellies. Liverpool, 7-0, we shouldn't be putting them in the same sentence. And, they're very lucky it wasn't a similar 7-0 thrashing at the weekend against Newcastle. Newcastle could have won that game, by a far greater margin than the 2-0 scoreline suggests. United look completely inept. So, Brentford have lost just once in the league since October. One loss across the last 16 league matches in all. They've gone to Arsenal, they got a result. They beat City on the road. And this is a line that failed to cover going all the way back to that October game we just mentioned as well. And you're telling me I'm going to get a +1 goal head start in this team against an out-of-sorts Man United side? I have to take some of that. Like I mentioned, no Casemiro for United makes it an even easier pick for me as well. It's already on my card. I think the outright draw is massively in play here as well. Brentford just know how to grind out results in games. Did it at the weekend against Brighton. Brighton should have won that game. And no one's had more outright draws in the league this season than Brentford have. So, yeah, if you're going to give me a plus goal especially, I'll take Brentford in this one plus the head start to get a result against United.
All right, Kevin Dolan. Kevin, I'm going to come back to you. And I am a brave man on taking this one. I think the price is good on this one. But I'll say this, because I do it a lot of times. A ton of in-game betting. I've got multiple screens going on the weekends watching these games. And I'm watching the Newcastle game, and I'm just saying to myself, they're completely outplaying United. It's only a matter of time before they score and take the lead. And I couldn't pull the trigger on it. I still could not pull the trigger on Newcastle. And then shortly after that thought crossed my mind, Willock scores to put him up 1-0 in the 60th minute. And I'm kicking myself because I look at the now new in-game odds. I'm like, there's completely no value. It's all gone. And the bookmakers knew because they priced it after it was 1-0 at a price where you just could not take anything other than will there be a second goal in this game? And there was, obviously, from Newcastle. So we're going mano a mano on this one, but we'll see how it ends up. You'd be good with a push with a 1-0 United win or a 2-1 United win because that gets the both teams to score in over 1.5, and I'll get the win. I'm sure you're happy with that, right?
Not really.
Not really. All right. With that, I thought I could maybe push that one through on you, but I get it. All right, let's go to the fourth and final game on the card. It is the Hammers and the Magpies. West Ham plus 251. The draw plus 243. The aforementioned Newcastle United plus 112. Brian, I'm going to go to you on this one. The Hammers are trying to dig themselves out of that relegation battle. We were discussing it just before the show. I think 8 teams separated by, I think it's 8 teams or 6 or 7 teams separated by 5 points. It is going to be a struggle with every point meaning something. Can they get at least a point out of this one?
Well, let's go back to Newcastle here for a minute, Carm. I was on them last week on the show. I loved them again at the plus price against Manchester United. What a performance it was, as you guys broke down. A very deserved 2-0 victory there. Magpies now part of that 3-way tie for third at 50 points. in the Premier League. They've got the superior goal difference as well, which can come in handy. But both clubs are coming off very big wins here, as you mentioned, Carm. West Ham, they win the critical relegation 6-pointer against Southampton, moves them out of the bottom 3. I was kicking myself for not taking them in that spot. They're just a much better side than Southampton. They should have won more decisively, I thought, than 1-0. I'd written about the relegation battle last week in the Premier League, in fact. And West Ham was a side that I feel pretty comfortable saying is not going to finish in the bottom 3. But you look at this next fixture here, short turnaround. Certainly, it's something that happens a couple times throughout the course of the year, but I'm not really in a rush to play either side here, guys, because of the fact they're both coming off such big victories. But I will look at the total. And on the show last week, I mentioned it. Obviously, this is no secret. Newcastle has conceded the fewest number of goals in the Premier League this season, just 19 in 27 matches. And you look at the relegation threatened sides. Meanwhile, West Ham has allowed the fewest goals in that group, just 34. They've kept 4 clean sheets in their last 6 here at home. And that includes the Europa Conference League, oh, by the way. I talked about their struggles, though, to finish against Southampton on Sunday. Only 5 teams in the Premier League have scored fewer times than the Hammers this season. To me, guys, this looks like an under. I do not expect a lot of goals in this one. I would take under 2.5 all day.
All right, Brian with under 2.5. Pavlos, you have the final word on this. Newcastle, 13 games on the road this season in Premier League. Almost half of them draws, 6 draws to go with 5 wins and 2 losses. What do you see in this one?
There's certain times where you pick the line is set at 2.5, and then you pick the over. There's a couple of quick goals, and then the match gets stuck in an under. And then there's the opposite side where you pick the under. There's no goals in that match, and then in the 80th minute, there's like 3 goals. So there is a prop. Again, it's available everywhere in most major sports books, where you predict the exact number of goals. Now, and I'm going with exactly 2 or 3 goals here at plus money, plus 100. Now, West Ham are 11-3 to the 2 or 3 goals in EPL matches at home this season. Newcastle are on a 9-0 run to the 2 or 3 goals in all competitions as of late. The reverse fixture between the two sides was a 1-1 draw, thus confirming the 2 or 3 goals. Now, the 2 or 3 goals, statistically speaking, if you look at all the soccer matches that have been played in the history of men, most of the correct scores, the final scores, they fall within that range, 2 or 3 goals, because it covers a lot of possible scenarios. It covers the 1-1 draw, the 2-0 win for either side, the 2-1 win for either side, and the 3-0 win for either side. So you get 7 possible outcomes at plus money. Give me that all day. And, there's a very good chance because why this prop is actually good, because if a team goes 1-0 up, the other team will try to come back into the match. So that creates a couple of scenarios. Either it's going to be a 1-1 draw, or they're going to leave open spaces at the back, and then the winning team is going to score another one. So I could go on and on. I would need a show by myself to depict how good of a bet this is in the right context. And I think that now both the sides fall within that context of this game being marginally between over and under, with the line set at 2.5. So I'm going to take the exactly 2 or 3 goals at even money, guys. Again, this is available at DraftKings, Barstool Sports, FanDuel, you name it. So this is one of my favorite bets, along with both teams to score. And of course, you don't care who wins. And that's where I'm going with this one. Exactly 2 or 3 goals at even money.
All right, Pavlos Zagratos, he talked about that prop for so long that he actually had a show of his own. So with that said, let's get into our show recap. We'll see everyone's leans. We're going to start off with Brian, then, we're going to start with Kevin, then we'll go to Brian, Pavlos, and myself. Kev, let us know what you have up at Wager Talk, and we'll see your leans up on the screen.
Yeah, we got 2 4% plays loaded up in the EPL for today and tomorrow. Carmine coming off that sweep over the weekend in EPL, and I really like this midweek card as well. So hopefully looking to extend that run. 2 free plays loaded up on site as well in the EPL, both client plays. Both plays have already fired on, one of which was the aforementioned Brentford game, which I know one of us is going to be unhappy on. Got to take a piece of the bees in that one. And we, along with the deal in soccer right now, the deal up in NBA, you can get the entire rest of the NBA playoffs, $177. Huge discount up there right now. We already have an NBA play loaded up for tonight. So, plenty of action and great time to jump on board.
All right, and best of luck to you. Brian, what do you have up at Wager Talk? And we'll have a look at your leans on today's show.
Yeah, we're going to bounce back in the Premier League this afternoon, have a total up for everybody. Also going to have a play up on Wednesday. That should be up, though, and within a couple hours after we're done here. And, of course, college basketball has ended, but when one season ends, another one typically begins, and that is, of course, the case with Major League Baseball, which is now underway. Have two plays up on my page, best bet, and then a free play, which is a client play as well. People can check out. So, looking forward to a 3-0 sweep here on Tuesday and getting it going this week.
All right. Best of luck to you. We will go to Pavlos. Pavlos, it's been so long since we saw you. Tell us what you have up at Sports Memo, and we'll have a look at your leans, my friend.
I have one single play loaded for tonight. It's a 4% spread. 7-2 run over the weekend. Won both my 5%. Won a 3 or 4%. So it's been going really, really well with this 4%, especially the sides. I do have a 4% side for tonight. It's my only play for today. I think it's a very tricky card, but I'm going to have at least a couple of plays for tomorrow. I'm going to load them after the show. And of course, there's MLS over the weekend where I'm going to have a big, big play. I've already picked my play, and I'm just gonna fire it out. You're gonna learn all about it in the next couple of hours.
All right, good to hear. And Pavlos' play goes this afternoon. When he says the play goes tonight, of course he's in Europe where that game is being played at night, but it is Eastern time over here in North America. So myself, 3 plays up this afternoon in EPL. You can get those over at Wager Talk, but the better deal is probably grab the one day all access. I have a 5% play up in the NHL tonight. Fantastic 11-3 run this season with 5% plays in NHL in 2023, and you can get those over at Wager Talk. Guys, we'll be back on Thursday with some great games being played this weekend across all leagues in Europe. Nick Borman will jump in to the sports memo seat, and we'll have of course, Kevin and Brian as well. We'll see you at 10 a.m. on Thursday. For myself, Kevin, Brian, and Pavlos, this is Stoppage Time. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your plays.
If you love $9 Monday and $2 Tuesday, you're really going to appreciate our new Throwback Thursday when all daily packages are slashed in half. Yes, you heard right. At both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com, all Thursday daily packages are now 50% off. This means that a 4% package will be only $12.50. A 5% top-rated play, normally priced at $35, will be only $17.50. And the hottest sales item of the day, get a full day of access from the handicappers of your choice. That's one day of every applicable play they release, including any 5% best bets, normally priced at $39, for only $19.50. The best part is you can come back every Thursday to take advantage of this limited time 50% off spring offer.